And thank you. Thank you again for joining. Today we're finally in Chicago. It's not as cold. And it's probably, I guess, like what's the temperature now? I didn't even check, like 19 degrees, which is, I think, about the same as Toronto, like -5 Celsius, somewhere around there. So welcome. And then in Bangalore, I can imagine where Shadol is probably very warm. And yeah, so that's very nice. And so welcome again to today's talk with Shadol Lafika. Am I saying it correctly, Shadol? And you'll be good. Yeah, you'll be telling us about how to do replay of production traffic locally. So that's a really good topic. Thanks a lot for proposing and then coming here and talk for us. Okay, so today too, I want to thank you again to Unlocked, which is the company that Shadol has founded, and the company will be giving out a certificate, right, of a $20 gift card to everybody after the presentation, and Shadol will give the information as to how you can obtain that card after the presentation. And also today we have two JetBrains licenses for raffling. So if you have not won any of these licenses within the past 9 months, you are eligible to enter into the drawing. And here it is on here, the bit.ly link. If you want to click that, there's a Google form that you can fill out, and then we will do a raffle after the presentation. So, and there will be two JetBrains licenses this time. And just some housekeeping. Remember, we have our Chicago Tech Slack, and that's run by the community. And so right now it's like almost, I guess it's 11,000 folks sign up, subscribe to it. And then there's also the Java Off Heap by Freddie Gimay. He was our previous president, like back in 2013 to 16, that time frame. And he's now at Expedia in headquarter in Seattle. So, and join us on meetup.com if you haven't already done so. And also follow us on X or Twitter, the old Twitter. This is our handle @CJUG. And we have also our presence on our Discord server if you haven't already joined us. So the top one is the Discord, the main room where you can join. And also I've created a special channel or special room for like specific discussions if anybody would like to stay in touch with Shadol. And just so you know, Shadol, that's the room. So here, if you click on that, I'll be sharing this slide deck too afterwards. So no need to worry about copying it now. I'll share it in the chat shortly. So you can continue conversation with Shadol or with the group there too. And then some community information. We are partners with the following organizations or companies. JetBrains, they always provide us with the JetBrains licenses, 2 per month. And then defitjobs.us, and they are IT consulting and recruitment firm. And there's also a big conference called We Are Developers based in Berlin, and they also run some special topics like meetups as well. So that's their the URL for their World Congress, the big conference like with 20,000 people every year. And then there's also JCon too. That's based in Germany, but it's kind of meant to be for all jugs and all users group too. And then there's also a new one, is CoMotion, which is based in Italy and also in Europe too. And now they actually wanting to share this one is that they have come to us, and then we sign up to as a community sponsor, and they are giving out discount code, and also the CFP call for proposals is open too. So if you're interested, please sign up and then do some proposals there, and it will go to Madrid. Yeah, and then there's also a discount code for CJUG until May 19th, and in the middle here, partner_CHI is the special discount code. Upcoming events. Right now in February, we are still planning, and then potentially to go to Chicago. Will be coming here to start preparing for their conference in May, but they would like to do a meetup. So that's potential, and we're planning for that right now. And there are other confirmed speakers, include Chicago. Local to Chicago is David Giard from Microsoft. And then there's also Venkat. He's been wanting to come, and we've been trying to look for the right date that will work for both sides. And Alina Urinko from Oracle, GraalVM, She's interested, but again, we're trying to find a good date. And also Josie Palmalt, the Oracle Java developer advocate, and Marcus Halbert from Vaden too. And then we're still still thinking about having a meetup. I think we've been talking about that for a long time. If you know, if you are interested, let us know. Let one of us know. We have Che here and also Shashank, who's kind of coming back. I hope to help us too. If you're interested in speaking at CJUG, this is the email address that you can send to present@cjug.org. And if you are seeking a job for jobs, or if your recruiter is trying to recruit, please join our CJUG group on LinkedIn. This is the group. And then past sponsor. Unfortunately, this year, I think because of the macroeconomic situation, there are no companies who are able to sponsor us. But we want to take this time to thank you again to JFrog. And they were 3-time sponsors in the past 3 years too. And then also last year, Fusion also sponsor us. And Friends of CJUG, we are kind of friends with all of the worldwide Java community. There are many Java users group. I think there are at least like 200-300 Java users group all over the world. And in particular, we are friends, special friends with Atlanta JUG, Boston, the New England Java users group, and then Garden State JUG, New Jersey, Kansas City JUG in Missouri, New York Java SIG, the oldest Java users group in the US, in New York City, and then the Pittsburgh JUG as well. And now our speaker for today is Shadol Lafikar. He is an entrepreneur for the second time. He has an impressive track record of developing multiple production-grade applications, and his first entrepreneurial path kind of basically you had product on vernacular speech translation engine and a customized optical character recognition system for the Indian market. And he has sold the intellectual property rights of his first set of products to Airtel, which is Asia's second largest telecom operator. Very impressive. And his current venture is support from renowned investors such as Y Combinator and Excel Partners. So with that, I'll pass on the stage to you, Shadol. Welcome.
Shall I start sharing my screen?
Yes, please do.
All right, cool. Hey, so thank you so much, Miri and Jay, for having me here. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my own experience in working with several enterprises and where I ran into production bugs and how those production bugs are super costly. When they're found in production versus when they're found in coding level itself, right? So this is one of the very famous graphs that I came across, and this is very theoretical, but I wanted to give, from my own experience where I actually faced, where I actually resonated with the feelings and emotions of this graph, right? So a little bit about me. I have worked in companies like, I have worked with companies like Airtel, PayU, and Ola, and my co-founder has worked with companies like Flipkart. There's one very common thing throughout my career. We live through the anxiety of big billion day deployments, right? So if I were to say equivalent of Black Friday sales in US, right? There were like code freezes, even the small changes, had to go through a lot of scrutiny. People used to literally say that, hey, it's Diwali time, so 3 months before Diwali, no code changes at all. Product managers used to start thinking of features that they could do in those meantime. I mean, those 3 months of time was it was full of anxiety, where even if you made like a small change in the code, how it would impact some of the end customers. And so this problem of finding the bug as you code has been at the back of my mind for quite some time. So I want to walk you through some of the stories first where I ran into production issues, and a lot of these references are in the Indian context. So feel free to just chat type in the chat where you don't follow. I'll try to connect it with the US side of things so that you understand. Yeah, so you understand like what I'm talking about, right? If you have questions, we do have time for proper Q&A. Um, so I want to start with my first experience with Flipkart, right? So Flipkart is like Amazon for India, and the way their products are rendered on a front end page. So something like this sort of represents how Flipkart shows one product on their page, right? And then what happens in the background is there is an API gateway. And this API gateway, so typically the front end app will call this API gateway, and this API gateway will do probably 50 to 60 downstream services. So you can see, like there's a bank offer, or there is some credit card offer. There is some offer from the vendor itself who's selling this phone. There is some offer from Flipkart. There were A/B tests that the product team used to run. So what used to happen was, so this one render of the page used to depend on about 50 to 60 downstream service calls, right? And the service, say for example, take some offer service from the bank, right? If for some reason this offer service from the bank did not give the expected response, right, the entire page, it wouldn't render, and this used to cause like a massive, revenue loss. And sadly, this used to happen just for a product in one category. There are about 100,000 product categories on Flipkart. So we used to know the revenue loss only when some customer actually reached out through the help channels, and then we knew that, hey, this product wasn't rendering. And then we had to sort of go back and go through what has gone wrong, and then figure out, and then fix the issue. Oftentimes this was like one platform service, one service which has tested their own changes with their own unit and integration tests, but they haven't really tested the upstream scenarios that would affect their code changes, and that would affect the entire experience. So this was one thing, and then the always there was like an RCA of what happened. We used to get together in a room, and so the RCA was that, why are we not testing this more? Why wasn't this covered under unit and integration tests? But we realized very soon that testing all combinations of upstream for one particular service for that particular change was nearly impossible. People did agree that if we are able to sort of replay the entire traffic which is relevant to a particular code change, it would sort of simulate what's going to break. And then people started working towards this. My next thing is my next experience was in Ola. So Ola is like Uber for India. There is of course Uber in India as well. But just so that I work there, I want to give you a perspective of what used to happen. So Ola has this feature called surge pricing, right? So surge pricing, so there are like different regulations when it comes to different states, and sometimes you can say like in Gurgaon you are allowed to have surge pricing, but in Mumbai you are not, right? Or in Bengaluru you're not, right? So that was just one example. So the basis of search pricing would be one feature, and every city would have its own config that the local ops team could decide, and then that would tie into the feature, and then the search pricing or something similar would get executed. The other example here was the local ops team used to decide if wait time needs to be added in the price, right? So typically, the pricing of Ola would be the distance you cover, the kilometers you covered into the per kilometer fare. And then on top of this, if some city operations team decides that we are going to have even the waiting time added to this waiting time added to this fare, it used to be a code change. Now the problem is the code change meant for one city almost always never work for all cities. So initially we started writing lots of integration tests, lots of unit tests, so on and so forth. But as we grew beyond 20 cities in India, it almost became impossible to mimic all the scenarios. So, you know, fundamentally, platform changes were not tested across products using it. And then the solution was you have to go beyond the traditional means of unit and integration tests. We somehow need to have a guarantee of sorts where we know that we're not breaking any scenario in production at all. Um, the third thing was about my experience in Payu. So Payu is like Stripe for India. So what used to happen was we used to settle merchant payments at the end of month. And then those used to run in batch jobs. Batch jobs by their own inherent nature never really were, they never got the necessary attention purely because they were low, yes, purely because they were sort of run only once in a month. But any downstream service that the batch job had executed, if there was even a minute change, we used to detect issues at least a month after the code change, right? Or the nearest time where the batch job actually ran. And this led to sort of delayed payments. It had a lot of support issues, and the like the one time resolution was always that, look, we would test this more, but the reality is that the tech team was always busy with existing feature requests from product team. On top of that, sadly nobody really liked writing unit tests. So that was a reality, and that somehow these things like bad jobs, etc., never really got the necessary attention. It was also, by the way, hard to set up the exact scenarios for bad jobs that could be, like you have to, it was hard to simulate how exactly bad jobs would be run. There were merchant dependencies on the external side, so on and so forth. So all of these sort of led me and my co-founder to, build this open source solution called Unlocked. So here is our Git repository. You can feel free to go there and check it. It's open source under MIT license, which means you can use it as and how you want. And the way I'm going to go about this demo is I'm going to show the IntelliJ plugin and the SDK. So there are two parts to this. The SDK added to your code essentially adds logging probes to your code in compile time and logs the entire code execution. And the plugin which scans these logs and then creates replay candidates at method level. So I'm going to show you this demo. Just let me know if you can see my screen here. Can you guys see the screen? You can
Yep,
probably.
all good.
Yeah. All right, cool. So what I did was I wrote a very simple, deliver to customer of method in Java. And what this method does is it takes a customer ID in the form of long, and then it calls this customer profile repo. So now this is a DB call. So if you just get inside this method, you can see that select all from customer profile is being called. And then what we do is we fetch the location from a static call for this customer. We fetch the weather info for that location. Then we check the delivery units available in that area. We filter the delivery units available in that area for our location. And then if the available sites is null, we just zero, we just return null. And we check if the precipitation in that particular area is less than 3. We say that, hey, yeah, this customer can be delivered to. Otherwise, we say, yeah, this customer can't be delivered to. And we just return this customer profile. So this is a simple method, and I want to sort of take this as an example. Obviously, it would work on fairly complex examples as well, but this is something everybody would follow. Now, the first line number 34 is a DB call. Line number 36 is an external API call. So you can actually check inside this get weather info. We are actually calling this API. And the line number 38 is a Redis. Both line number 38 and 39 are Redis calls, right? So why I have included these is I want to be able to show how you can replay all these scenarios locally. and how you can mock. So most important thing when it comes to being able to replay things locally is being able to mock. A lot of times we don't have the ability to mock itself. So what we do is we set up like Dockers, we set up several Dockers locally, and then we sort of keep testing. When you have several for 50 the downstream services, the expectation is that you will set up, those many Dockers locally. It becomes heavyweight. So we wanted to sort of do something simple where you get to mock where you want it. And then that's why, our plugin automatically shows the lines that can be mocked with a ghost icon, right? So anyway, so the way this would work is you have to go to IntelliJ IDEA, go to Preferences, and install this plugin called Unlock. Just go to Marketplace and search for Unlock. You will get it. Since I've already sort of installed, I'm going to skip that part. Once you install, you will start seeing those gutter icons next to your code lines, right? What these mean is clearly we have mentioned this in depth on our documentation, but what this means is a red cross icon means that you are not yet running your application with unlock, right? So let's go ahead and click on it. So it gives you getting started instructions. It tells you to add this dependency to your form, right? So I'm going to go to my form and I'm going to add this dependency. So very simple dependency, nothing fancy. Then what you can do is add this at unlock just above your project's main method. So you can go to unlock demo and then add this thing called at unlock. And that's it. So all that is needed is just these two things, and you can ambient clean and then just start your application in debug mode. So what happens in the background is while we compile the code, we add logging probes to your entire method. So you don't have to do anything manually. It gets added automatically to every line of your code. At the end of the demo, I'll also show you like how this looks like, how the code post-compiled code looks like, right? Now, once the application has started, you can note that this color changes to a cyan color box. Right? What this means is you can actually start recording method input and return values for this particular function. So just to try this locally, we have actually just to sort of let developers try this locally, we have come up with a postman-like interface, right? So you can just click on this and call this method using direct invoke, right? So direct invoke lets you call just this method with the parameters. Now, what happens is typically you can actually expose a controller or write a unit test to test just this method, but that involves you to sort of hit the controller and then F8, F8, F8 into your code execution till you actually reach this deliver to customer. So I want to just take a detour and show you, this meme which we came across on, Monkey User. So I don't know how many of you really connect with this meme, but basically it's the step in, step over dance. You basically feel like you should have stopped here, but then you have to start from the beginning. So we basically say that with this direct invoke, you can solve that very easily. Just call the function that matters and start debugging where it matters, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to add a customer, add through this thing called add new customer. I'm just going to click on this, and then it pre-populates the JSON for this customer profile. I'm going to say, hey, the customer ID is 10, customer name is Sharpul, date of birth is something random, email is tester@gmail.com, contact number is 787, address I'm going to put Chicago, and I'm going to set the default flag to false, right? Can deliver flag to false, and I'm just going to execute this. So the moment I execute, I get like a response from this method, and then this response can be seen here in the form of a JSON again. Now, another thing which I would want to highlight is we actually highlight the lines of code that the recent execution traversed. So let me show that. So here, obviously, there are just two lines, so you get to see those two lines. But here, I want to call it with, say, 10. Um, and now you can see that, here the code execution actually didn't go through this line number 42 because, the available sites units are more than zero. The weather precipitation was less than three, so on and so forth. So you can visually track where your code execution went about. Now, what you can do is uh, save this replay, right? You can actually say save this replay and define a custom assertion around it. Now, by the way, so you can also generate a boilerplate JUnit by just clicking on this button, and you'll get like a boilerplate code. You'll still have to go through this and correct it. This is not the, and also we don't recommend that you write unit tests like this. This helps you sort of get started. So, you can take a look at how this unit test gets generated, correct it to your own requirement, and then sort of commit it to your code. What I want to show you is how you can show this, save this replay, right? So just click on it and we give you an assertion window. Now, in this assertion window, we tell you that, hey, you can actually define any custom assertion you want on this return value. Now, in this case, we got this customer profile as the return value, in which what I'm going to say is, hey, look, as long as the address is Chicago, the can deliver flag should be true. So you can put rules about and, or you can do not, you can group together different rules, so on and so forth. All of that, it works. And then as far as assertions themselves are concerned, you can actually put assertions like is not, greater than, less than, is it null, is empty, matches, rejects, contains item in an array, contains substring, starts with, ends with, like anything that a good, decent assertion framework should have, right? So this would give you those, the list of assertions, right? Now all you have to do is just save, and that's it. So now if you see this icon, this green tick means that, whatever scenarios you have tested with are passing. Now what you can do is you can actually just change some code. So instead of true, make it false. Instead of false, make it true. What then happens is the plugin keeps observing code changes, and then it senses that something has changed, so it shows you this bold icon. What this bold icon means is, hey, you've changed something. Just click on it and retest your changes, right? So if I click on it, what happens is these changes are hot reloaded into a running process, and then we replay everything that's pre-recorded, and then we instantly show you that the assertion is failing, right? Like, so this exclamation mark means that your assertion is failing on this replay. So you check on this fail, and then you see that the expected value was true, but the actual is false. You can actually see the entire difference in the JSON itself. So the way this would work on, say, I showed you a demo on localhost, but you can obviously deploy this on staging, and all the staging replay scenarios would be shown to you here. If you deploy this in production, all the production related scenarios would be shown to you here. uh, Now, the other thing we sort of get asked quite often is, how do these replay look like? Where are they stored? What happens when like, how can I access them? So what we do is we save these replays in this file called source slash test slash resources slash unlocked. So sometimes what happens is it IntelliJ doesn't load it on time, but yeah, now you can see this JSON file, and this JSON file has just the metadata of what the return value is, what the method arguments were, what is the description of the test case, and then who created it, what is the status, what are the lines covered by this test case, so on and so forth. So there's only meta that is saved, about this unit test. You don't have to, like, write unit tests. You can actually just keep replaying different scenarios with just this meta. Now, What I want to also show you is how do you, so the most important bit, right, which is mocking. Now, say a lot of times this DB calls or say Redis, or maybe some downstream or some API. So take for example an API call. It may not always be available, right? So it may not always be. You may have to pay price for it, or it might be having some quota. So you might want to mock it very easily. Now with this gutter icon, what you can do is just click on it, and then we pop up a form which says, hey, you define, when and then condition for this mock. So you actually say for this particular line of customer profile, customer profile report or get customer ID. So the when and then mock for this would be defined as when the customer ID is any value of long, return this class instance of customer profile. So you can in fact return null also. You can throw an exception also. We have the capability here, so you can actually do that. And then you can actually define this mock, like send any value of long, and you would be returned with a customer ID of 10, Shardul, string, email, whatever, right? And then we say can deliver flag to false. Just save it. What then happens is in the background, we actually tell the JVM that when the code execution comes to this line number 34, replace it with the mock that we just defined. So it helps you, test things in runtime very easily. It sort of becomes, you're not dependent all of a sudden on anymore. I don't know about you guys, but we had to deal with this painful VPNs if we had to connect to remote machine DBs. And then it was like a 2FA device, and then that token had to be copy pasted. And then half the times the connections wouldn't go through. Just to speak with the DB, we had to go through that. And it was painful. It was genuinely painful. So, in my experience, like if you just mock it, you're at least not blocked in the development process at all. Now let's go and mock this API call. So again, same process. Just click on this. You can see that for any value of string, since location is string, you return the class instance of weather info. So let's just go and say, hey, Chicago is the location. Just leave everything else aside, and then say that is um, precipitation is 2.5, right? And then just save. This. Yeah, and then just save. Now, similarly, Redis calls, you can mock them again very easily. So you can just define the location here because that's what is important, and then mock everything else. Just say save, and then available all units. Again, just Chicago, and then save. Now what happens is we have enabled mocks for all these 4 lines. Just go to, direct invoke, and now try hitting it with any other customer ID. Say, for example, 15. Remember, 15 is not even there in the DB, right? So if I execute now, you'll get the same mocked response that we got, right? Like that we mocked with. So customer ID 10, customer name Shabdul, date of birth, whatever, so on and so forth. Now, that's how mocking would work. And then you would be, once you deploy this on, say, staging or production, you will be prompted to. So right now, I mocked line number 34, 36, 38 with manual mocks, meaning I went and I actually edited this form, right? Once you actually deploy this to staging in production, you will get to see those value pre-populated with the recordings there. So you don't have to even do that manually, right? Now, what I want to cover is how is this sort of unit plus integration tests in one place. So the way unit test would be defined is while your assertions run, everything else has to be mocked, right? So what we are going to do is we will define the mocking in our replace where we save the replace, right? So see here, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, when you run this in the unit test mode, just mock everything. So this screen shows us every single mock that we define. just have to select, yeah, so just mock this line, just mock this line, so on and so forth, right? And then they just say save. Now what happens is between the replay and the mocks, there is a relation created. And now you can actually, replay your test with the mocks enabled. Um, Now, the natural thing anyone would want is how does this get integrated with CI? So what we have done is we have actually integrated this to the ambient pipeline itself, so ambient test pipeline itself. So all you have to do is just go to terminal and then just run ambient test, and that's it. So it will pick up everything that's there in test resources unlock folder, and then it will. So just a second. And it will run all the tests. You can even do something like MVN Surefire to get the HTML reports, and you will see those HTML reports, in the same format as tests or the integration tests, right? So I go to my target folder in my site, and then I get the Surefire report. Um, Go to Chrome. Yeah, you can see this exact same report where we say, hey, test delivered to customer returns expected value. It took so and so much time. So typical report. There's nothing new in the report side. My only point is that you've integrated with the existing pipeline so that it becomes, a part of your Jenkins pipeline very easily. One of the other things I wanted to show is we don't stop just at unit and integration tests, but we also, so I'll give you a little bit background about this. Um, so when we worked in payments domain, right, uh, the one of the given criteria was none of the APIs should take more than 200 milliseconds time in production at scale, right? And somehow we used to know these insights only when we deployed to production using tools like Datadog or Sentry or Dynatrace or and so on and so forth. The problem is we wanted to know as you code, as you make changes inside your code, you should know that what are the performance impacts you are having on production. So another thing we show here is the statistics around how much time uh, this method is taking for replays. So you basically just replay this, and then we actually show you the time it takes for this method. What is the standard deviation? What is the average time? What is the standard deviation? And then for a code change that you just made, how much impact has it created at a method level? So if I remember my days of going through the logs and figuring out which method actually took time, I did get insight at an API level, but it was hard for anybody to just figure out what happened completely downstream, like what call was actually taking a lot of time. So yeah, some of these statistics would look something like this. So right now it's somehow not coming here. I don't know why. It's probably some bug, but it would look something like this. So one call average is so and so, standard deviation is so and so. And then make any code change, it would tell you that this is what has changed, and this change has led to so much of increase in average and so much of increase in standard deviation or decrease or vice versa. So yeah, so not just unit and integration, but we're also sort of targeting performance tests with these, where you can very quickly see the impact of performance you had on because of your code changes. Yeah, so I want to take a pause here and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Did you use Docker in some way in the course of testing?
No, I didn't. So this is
Okay,
purely using IntelliJ, IntelliJ's own run this method, like run this application as a
sure.
Docker.
Okay, okay.
But we do support Docker, that we will add the instructions to run this with Docker as well. Yeah,
Right.
so one question is, can you use it with services that require a VPN? Definitely. All of this is, by the way, offline, and all of this is fully local. Nothing comes to us at all. None of your log, no information from you ever comes to us. And we have transparently sort of mentioned what all we track through plugin. You can read that on our documentation. But yeah, it is meant for working with any service with or without VPN. It's immaterial.
I have a question about the implementation. Like, how exactly do you like patch the process so that you can execute this like an arbitrary method ad hoc? Is like is this the plugins doing like in IntelliJ? So you like under the hood attach a Java agent to the running process, or is this some annotation processing magic that you instrument the code and then you have sort of all these handles that you can
So there are
poke the
two things.
process?
Yeah, yes, that's a good question. So there are two things happening here. One is the instrumentation itself, right? So the instrumentation itself happens through this annotation, and you might have used Lombok. So we have extended Lombok's implementation to process annotations and add probes, right? So Lombok just adds getters and setters, but we add logging probes to the code, right? So if you just look at the code, it looks something like this. So if I go to this, so this is the target folder. And if I actually go to, so we tested this on delivery service. Yeah, so let's go to delivery service, and it looks something like this. So essentially, we log the recording of events, right, as it happens. So this is on the instrumentation side, and this is automatically done, so you don't have to do anything. On the side where I'm just calling the methods directly, we use reflection. So remember, the plugin and the SDK are talking to each other. And through the SDK, we have actually exposed a port 12100. And when you actually replay this, the plugin tells the HTTP server running at 12100 that, hey, execute this method these um, with these parameters and record everything. And then what gets recorded gets stored inside your, so this thing would be your username slash dot unlock folder. So actually, if you open this, you would see the logs right here. So these are the logs. So this is the SE logger output. So logs are stored locally on your machine. And then when the moment the logs are found in that particular location, the plugin starts scanning them, and then it starts, creating replay candidates, creating mocks, all of that sort of automatically. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. That answers my question completely. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mitchell here. Just a quick question. So are we with this plugin, is it we can reduce writing the test cases and use the plugin to automatically do the unit test for us?
Yeah, here is the thing though. Use this as a starting point boilerplate. Don't use this as the plugin to generate JUnit tests. And I'll tell you why. So I get asked this question quite often when people are using Git Copilot. I mean, you shouldn't write a code that's not, I mean, you shouldn't commit a code that's not written by you, and I'll tell you why. There is just massive tons of code that just sits in your repository without you having any knowledge of it, and then that becomes another maintenance headache.
Yes.
So if you do use JUnit, use this as a starting point. This is what I would say. Yeah, so don't use this necessarily to sort of just write JUnit test, and also goes against the principle of TDD. Instead, you can always use replay tests very quickly. Replay tests are no code tests, right? So all these tests are stored again inside your JSON in the form of inside your repository in the form of a JSON. So if you just go to this delivery service.json, you see that I think I explained the
Yes.
test case to you. But yeah, I mean, this is humanly readable for anybody, right? Just imagine if I were to cover all the scenarios of unit test with for just this one function, it would be like 10x of this code.
Yes. Agree.
So again, so here, the purpose is either use this in unit or integration. So just switch off the mocks here, and it would actually call the API or the DB. Just come and switch off the mocks here, and then it would actually call. So you can run this in both unit and integration fashion by just switching on and off mocking bit, right? So that
Yes.
saves you like huge amount of time, and then it sort of guarantees that look, nothing is going to go wrong because you've replayed all the conditions, right? I want to walk you through, how to run this in integration mode as well. It's there on our documentation. So I have explained it. You can either run it like a unit test or you can run it like integration test, right? So if you are running it like a integration test, you have to set up these properties, and then you just have to copy this file into your slash test Java unlocked runner test. So this file would look something like this. Internally, we also use, by the way, JUnit runner. And another thing I forgot to mention is replay test would be at least 50x faster than unit test. Reason being, unit test actually brings up the context and then runs the test and then brings it down, kills it. But since we are using like a live running application and then we are sort of calling all the methods, we are like super duper fast. And then you can, like you can get every advantage that you have with unit test with replay test as well. So this is meant to primarily, replay production scenarios and not to replace unit test or integration tests. It's just to save you time in knowing if you're causing any regression on production. Sorry, one thing I forgot. I think somebody has a question. Yeah, so I'll come to that. So one thing I forgot to cover was we also show you coverage statistics, live coverage statistics, as you keep saving your replay tests. We show you that, hey, class coverage is so and so, method coverage and so, line coverage and so and so. So you keep sort of testing with more and more scenarios to cover, a lot of, lot of your code already. Once you actually put this on production, it definitely goes above 90%. You don't need to do anything. But the problem is that 10% of the code that was never, never even accessed in any scenarios in production, you should probably get rid of it or refactor it. Now the question from Tim is, how do we efficiently store the log files? So yeah, we have actually come up with several optimizations. We binarize the logs. We, in fact, generate the logs in binary and then store and then zip. If you actually get to try this plugin, and we zip them so that, like what could be like several GBs of data now comes to a few MBs, right? So that's how we do it. Actually, we plan to write some sort of a blog on it, as to how we have actually optimized. You can feel free to. So right now there's probably nothing that explains how we optimize, but yeah, happy to write a blog and probably explain that in depth. But mostly it's binary and zipping and stuff like that. So yeah. Does that answer your question, Tim? Okay, cool. Any other questions?
It's a great tool, Arvind. Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, thanks, Bijal.
Great.
If not questions, any feedback? Like what do you think about the whole thing? Like welcome the feedback as well. Yeah, sure. Ihor, you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. It was nice. Thanks.
Interesting. So
Uh,
just to ask, sorry,
yes,
you're,
on Mary.
you said you're AI driven, so essentially you're depending on the Copilot, GitHub Copilot to help you with that. Is that?
No. So yeah, that's again a very good question. So let me share the screen and show. So the one of the feedbacks that we get from a few of our customers is that even this defining of assertions, right? Like where they have to select this contact number and then select the rule and then drop down and then, pick proper this thing. The
That's
feedback
right.
we got was that's also quite time consuming, and doing this at method level is actually painful. So what we are going to do is, integrate AI here. And if I were to explain you that in the form of prompts, we would say, hey, this is the method, and these are the input and return values. Can you please define a replay assertion for me? And then we'll automatically define it for you so that there's no human intervention needed at all. You can come here, you can see the assertions, and then just say close. You can obviously edit them manually as well. And
Okay.
you can actually use AI to do that. So imagine if you have like 50,000 lines of code in one service, right? It becomes almost impossible to do this at method by method. So we say, hey, do one thing, put this to production, and then put our AI in the plugin, and then you get to sort of auto-define those assertions in no time at all. So that's where, and we were not going to rely on Git Copilot. We would probably think of giving you some model that sort of works just for this purpose. So a very minuscule light LLM that you can do on your laptop, so that it's just fully offline. None of the data. I mean, I'm personally not. Yeah, so I'm personally not in favor of sending the code outside of my own environment and sort of getting some suggestions on it. So yeah,
Sure.
does that like explain the AI use case?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Tim, I agree with you. This is a lot, similar to record functionality of Postman, but this is happening as you code, and then you can hot reload, you can mock dependencies right inside the code in runtime. So I think Postman or Swagger, these tools, since they sit outside of your code context, they may not be able to mock what's happening inside your code.
I have an additional question. So you just mentioned, and you earlier mentioned that there's a possibility to hot reload the method body. Again, I'm wondering, like, how did you implement this? Like, how do you reload the bytecode? How do you reload the new class version?
Right. So
So,
hot reloading, we are mostly depending on, so we haven't reinvented the wheel there. We are mostly depending on the IntelliJ's APIs to help us with that. It's also reliable in that sense, so that, there's not like a yet another hot reload solution.
oh, I see. So it's essentially you're calling like this run reload classes or something like that menu, right?
Yeah, that's right. So currently the limitation of that is the hot reload works only if there are method changes. If you actually add a new method, it doesn't work. You have to restart the application. But yeah, I mean, we are sort of, nobody has come so far saying that, that's a limitation on hot reload and you got to fix it. But
Gotcha.
more than happy to sort of work there if that comes across as a necessity. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions, feedback? Guys, I'm going to share the link to our Google Forms. Fill it so that I can send you this $20 gift. So this is going to be an AWS gift card. Just a second. So I'm just sending it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's here in the chat. So you can actually check and so yeah, I think there are a couple of more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, so Abhishek, no, not Abhishek. So there is
Tim?
oh yeah, Tim again. Yeah, Tim, thanks. So Tim, this should work for Scala and Kotlin with a few changes because it's all JVM based. And we are actually working on supporting Python and Node.js as well. Python, Node.js, and Golang as well. So yeah, we will, join our Discord and we'll keep you posted on those. You guys are not able to access Google Forms?
Let me try to. Yeah, it also says you need permission in my case. So
Really? Okay. I don't know. It's like collect email address, responder input.
okay.
You need permission for what really? Can somebody maybe could you please show me what's happening?
Owners. It says in the owners organization. Yeah, that's strange. Because we are also using Google Forms and
Yeah, probably
don't know.
because I did it from my unlock.io ID. Let me try doing it from
Sure. I'm trying to look to see.
very weird. Just guys, give me a second. Maybe I'll fix this. Give me a second. I'll
Sure,
fix it.
sure. Take your time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it was restricted somehow by default in some. Could you try refreshing and check now?
All right, let me try as well. Let's see, where's your link? Here we go. Yep, it's good now. I can read it. So
Yeah, guys. So please fill this form, and I'll send you an AWS $20 gift. Yeah.
okay. Cool. Okay.
Hey Shardul, I have a quick question.
Question. Yeah.
Sure, Shashank. Go on.
Are there any plans of using the open telemetry? I mean, the traces that we normally instrument with open telemetry, right? So can these traces be used as
Absolutely.
a
Yeah. So what you can do is instead of actually putting this in production, you can take the open telemetry traces and then use those traces to replay. And see, the problem with open telemetry is that it doesn't cover all the if-else scenarios. It covers only what's on the edges, meaning like API calls, DB calls. It would collect all that, but not the logic itself, right? Like not the if-else loops, right? The advantage that we have is we do even the uh, if-else loops, even the different flows. So you can collect telemetry data, hotel data, and replay using that instead of putting this directly on production. So that also works. All you need is one environment where that can be replayed.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Guys, if you like the tool, do star us on GitHub. Maybe uh, tweet about us on Twitter. And yeah, I mean, it would be a great help if you could do that. Yeah.
Sure. Sounds good. Yeah. So right now, that's right. Your plugin is only in IntelliJ. Do you have it on VS Code, for example? Other
No,
IDE?
so no VS Code, IntelliJ, and then Eclipse is something we are coming up with very soon. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I guess folks can always continue the conversation with you. I mean, I'm sure too, sometimes we can't think of questions right away. So if there are
Because,
questions afterwards,
I
yeah, go
would
on
I would
Discord.
strongly suggest maybe give it a try on one of
Yeah.
your Java projects. By the way, we also have a bug bounty program. Check it on our website. If you happen to raise bugs, we would be happy to reward you for that. And then try the product and probably you would have far more questions, So that's what I think. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Or
And folks can always contact you on Discord if you
absolutely.
check Discord, and I created that room if folks wants to have more conversations there too. So yeah.
I'd be at your disposal in Discord. So yeah, no worries. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Thank you so
All
much,
right. Thank
Nidhi
you.
and Jay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I
And
hope to see you sometime in April. I think you're here, right? Maybe in Bangalore?
yes, I will be in April. That's why there's a conference, Developer Summit. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I hope
great
to see you
international.
guys in Chicago. But yeah.
Yeah, I have to look you up. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank
And
you.
so right now I've also moved into the next phase, which is a quick raffles for the audience who have signed up for it. So but Shadol, if you have some other things, don't worry about staying. I'll just run the wheel of names quickly. And so to pick out our winners. So yeah, let me get there.
Okay.
Hold on a sec. Yeah, and wait. It's kind of funny. I think on this Zoom doesn't get refresh. I think I have to try to refresh to get that screen. I need to share. Oh, here we go. Okay. I just have to share the wheel of names in here. And just to want to make sure we have Ihor, Alexander, Abhishek, Tim, Michael, Bijal, Naresh, and Gaurav. Am I missing anybody else? Those are the names I got from the form that you have filled out. So, okay. So if we're all good, I'm going to spin. Okay, there are 2 winners. Gaurav, congratulations. So you have your email address. I'll send that certificate to you, Gaurav. Okay, one more. It's Alexander. Alexander, are you there? Okay, congratulations, and I'll send the other certificate to you. So with that, we are all done tonight with this presentation, and thank you so much again to Shadol. And it's very nice to have you. I look forward to seeing you in April in Bangalore. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and then, yeah,
Yeah. All
thank
right.
you.
Have a good day.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Yes. If folks wants to hang out, you're welcome to hang out for a bit too. So, yeah. Thank you.